fortune for the Lord Jesus Christ, sailing the seas of culture, a real heist. Come along for a view that's unique and so true, an adventure with Rick, a privateer's crew.
Welcome, Levitical Kingdom privateers, to the Privateers Volley. And today we're going to talk a little bit about we the people. We're going to talk a little bit about where that concept lays in my imagination, because I think it's closer to Nimrod than it is to Christ as far as what it is that we're trying to accomplish. We're going to talk about some of that today. But what I want to do is give you a little video and talk to you a little bit about the things that I am up to. I am working on putting together a TV series that really has every kind of plot line you could possibly imagine in it. It's got danger. It's got conspiracy. Worldwide crazy conspiracy. It's got family. It's got self-governance. In fact, the entire principle of the TV series is about self-governance. The point of it is to actually show how it's possible in the day that we live in to self-govern your house, and to self-govern in a community with different ethnicities and different people from different cultures, all together in one place. It's going to be a slow developing series, but that's because it's going to be worth it. The first pilot episode is what I'm working on right now. If you know anything about working with AI generation, it's beautiful. You can do a lot with it, but you have to be extremely technical. So you get a lot wrong. You have to redo and redo and redo. And at first that was extremely expensive because you were having to pay heavy prices for credits in order to run the AI on the servers, because what you were paying for was the energy. Well, because the technology of AI is continuously moving up and up and up and up and up, you can use some of these platforms now, some of these video platforms, for an extremely cheaper price. So you can still commit to the quality, the visual quality that you're looking for, without actually continuing to escalate along with it. And so that's really been able to help me. I can now make tons and tons more videos and photorealistic storyboards and all those kind of things than I ever could before. And this is going to be quite a project, because I'm going to tell you, you're only using 7, 8, 9 second clips. The max clip you can create on a lot of these platforms is 15 seconds. Now you can connect them, okay, but the max is 15 seconds. So you can imagine how many videos you have to make in order to have conversations and transitions and all those kind of things that you have in the movie industry. So I have lots of video clips, lots of prompts, lots of writing that I've done. I have character Bibles, they call them character Bibles. All of my characters have backstories and they all have different looks. I created their looks personally based on information that I fed into the system. So it's from scratch, 1,000% all the way. There is no borrowed information. It's all coming from this head as as I put together a story that's going to help society to be able to come to the conclusion that self-governance in a community aspect is actually not just formidable and real, but it's actually effective, and it's going to be extremely important as we move down the eschatological trail that we happen to be on. So if you don't mind, I'm getting this out of the way early so I don't have to talk about it anymore. But if you don't mind, here is a QR code that you can use on your phone to go to buymeacoffee.com/C2KRick and just make a donation of $2, $3, $4. Some of you, may want to make a much larger donation. If that's the case, then great. That would extremely, extremely help me. And just know that everything that you're doing in buying me a coffee is actually bringing me the ability to be able to continue my work without having to worry about where the funding is going to come from. Now, this is a funding mechanism in which I don't even really believe in, but I'm asking for now. If you want to support me, send, buy me a coffee. But ultimately, I think the best support mechanism out there is the support mechanism of buying land and allowing the Lord to open your eyes to what is there to be developed so that you can create production on your land, or even mine your land and find the things that God has hidden for your particular purpose or your particular mission or calling. So we will talk a lot more about that. That's part of the system that we're developing, this stewardism that we talked about on our last show. But today we're going to talk about we the people and why I think we the people is such it's a dangerous notion. And I'm going to talk about it, but I want to play something real quick because I need a minute to go plug in my computer before it dies. So let me play this for you, and I will be right back. Hello, Levitical Kingdom privateers. I need your help. I'm creating a TV series for Rumble about a self-governing family that discovers the systems of the world are conspiring to capture all mankind into a war against the kingdom of Jesus Christ. The immaculate photorealistic pictures I'm showing you are storyboards for this exciting story that I'm writing and directing. Today, there are opportunities through artificial intelligence to shave millions off of movie budgets. A creative team can create awesome theatrical content for nickels on the dollar. With your help, my team can develop content that can teach and inspire people to come out of Babylon. Go and buy me a coffee today to help support my studio. Thanks. All right, I just got back in time. Welcome, everybody. All right, let's talk about we the people. Let me pull it up on my screen so that I can see the information that I have been working with. You won't be seeing it because it's all discombobulated. It's a very, it's not put together in a very efficient way at this point. But I will share it in the future as we begin to go into things. So, what are the similarities between Nimrod and the concept of we the people? Originally, when I was doing this study and putting it together, and you guys know that I like to use AI to kind of challenge me and then to give it facts so that it develops and so on and so forth. One of the questions that I ask it, let me go up way back to the top here real quick. What connections can we draw from the similarities of we the people and the unity that Nimrod had with the people that he compelled to build the Tower of Babel in scriptures and in the apocryphal text? And it really didn't see any similarities to it at all at first. It gave me all kinds of information. I'm going to go over some of that in just a second. But then I kind of gave it a question qualifier. I said, wasn't Nimrod also deriving his powers by the consent of the people? Because it wanted to tell me that, hey, there's a difference between a dictator that is dictating to people like Nimrod was perceived to have done, and then having people voluntarily consent to to being represented, to being things to be taken away from their tree of liberty. So and here's what AI came back to me with, and I want to talk about it a little bit. I asked the question, wasn't Nimrod also deriving his powers by the consent or acquiescence of consent by the people, or of the people? Yes. In the primary extra-biblical tradition, especially Josephus, because Josephus spoke a bit about Nimrod, Nimrod gains and exercises power through a form of popular persuasion and acquiescence. Though it quickly evolves into tyranny. So here's the deal. If you understand what happened with Nimrod, it is said in tradition, it is said that Nimrod convinced the people that they didn't need God. All they needed was confidence in themselves, and that would actually, that's actually what's going to give them strength and be able to do anything that they could accomplish. Traditionally, that is what's said about Nimrod, that he installed this idea that if you have confidence in yourself, you are like God. Okay. Josephus gives an account in the Antiquity of the Jews, first century writing, that provides the most detailed classical answers to this. That Nimrod excited the people to such an affront and contempt of God. He persuaded them not to credit God for their prosperity, but their own courage and strength. He gradually changed the government into tyranny, believing the way to detach people from the fear of God was to make them continuously dependent upon his own power. Crucially, the multitude were very ready to follow the determination of Nimrod and to esteem it as a piece of cowardice to submit to God. So he convinced them that to submit to God was cowardice. He convinced them that courage and strength made them like God. And what's interesting about that is, can you hear the detail in that also plays to the we the people narrative? Think about it. I could literally replace the word Nimrod with government. United States, state, county, whatever level of government, I could actually replace it with government. Has government ever excited the people to an affront and a contempt of God? Well, it's attempting to replace God. And the concept of we the people is to unify behind this idea that we're ruled by our consent, right? Whatever consent we give, that's the permission that we're giving to this government that's going to create laws and a framework in order to make the world exactly the way that we want the world to be. Problem with that is, there's this dialectic, there's this thing where a condition is created, and then in order to create security, to create peace, public peace, public order. Then they have to make a law that takes away this liberty, and it's make a law that takes away that liberty. It's a slow cooking the frog in the boiled pot type of situation. So you could see where I could replace the name Nimrod with the name United States government or any state of your choice or any county of your choice. I could do that. It'd be very easy to prove that the we the people model has come to a place where the United States, your state, your county is exciting the people to the contempt of God. It's trying to replace God. Why do we need God's law? We can just make our own. We can make our own framework. Then, the next one, he persuaded them not to credit God for their prosperity, but their own courage and strength. Well, you ever heard of patriotism? That's basically the message of patriotism. We defend the poor, wretched soul. I mean, the very plate that's on the Statue of Liberty that welcomes in all the strangers, all the weary, right? We have this narrative about us that says that really by our own courage and strength, we're better than the rest of the world. Have you seen have you read the MOU for the treaty, the supposed treaty, or the what do you call it? The memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran? Have you read it? A lot of people think it's a big loss for the United States. When I read it, you know what I hear? I hear, finally, we're going to let the world take care of the world, and we're going to take care of the United States. That's what I hear. When I read it, I'm like, finally, let's get out of there. Let's let them take care of themselves, and we'll take care of ourselves. How about that? But, to me, this is something that's needed to happen for a long time. But everybody's just going crazy over, it's not a win for the United States, because we have this thing. We have this just this standard about ourselves that says that we're better than the rest of the world, and it's something that's been planted in us. And then we're not the only place that has that kind of feeling. It's something that happens in patriotism, no matter where you are in the world. It's always, if you're in Germany, it's Germany first. If you're in Spain, it's Spain first. If you're in the United States, it's United States first. It's MAGA, or it's, make America great again, or it's make Spain great again, or wherever you happen to be, you have this patriotism that rises up in your red blood, and you just, you got to make your place the best. Well, why don't we just make the earth the best by aligning it with Christ? How about that? Oh, no, we can't do that, because that's not our courage or strength. We're that means we have to expose our weakness. So, I could compare all of these things that they're talking about Nimrod, all the writings that have been talked about pertaining to Nimrod. I can compare them all to the United States or to your local jurisdiction, and I could say, hey, you know what? We got the same problem. Next, it says he gradually changed the government into tyranny. Gradually. Well, is that the history that you understand about the United States and about your states and your counties? California in the 1970s, 1980s was a holistically different place than it is today. New York, holistically different place than it is today. Even South Dakota, probably one of the states of the Union called the United States of America that most people consider free. It's captured. The courts enforcement of Babylonian law. It's all captured. It's captured. Why? Because there's been a gradual change into tyranny. So we can say the same things about Nimrod that we can say about our local jurisdiction or our national jurisdiction. Then it says, crucially, the multitude were very ready to follow the determination of Nimrod. What do we do when we capitulate to the determinations of Babylon? Of this now Babylon, United States, Kansas, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, wherever you happen to be, California. We capitulate to the things that they represent us for. What are we saying? What are we doing? Are we doing the very same thing? Are we showing cowardice? Yeah. You know why we're showing cowardice? Because we're unwilling to submit to God, to make man a liar. We're unwilling to submit. So there's just so many parallels between the concept of we the people and the Babylonian system and Nimrod's Babylon. So many. The people during Nimrod's day actively participated in the Tower Project with enthusiasm. It talks about it took them a year to travel from the bottom, from the base of the tower to the top in order to put the next brick in. It took them a year to travel. That's what the scriptures say. A year. Is that dedication? I mean, that's enthusiasm. In fact, it even says when they lost a brick. Now, this I got to say, this is in the book of Jasher. So I'm not going to call it scripture, but I am going to say it's evidence of something. When they lost a brick, they mourned over it. When a brick broke, after them having traveled, 6 months to get to, halfway there, and a brick broke, they mourned over it. But if they lost a man, if a man fell over and fell to his death, it was as if the wind blew. They didn't care. Have we reached that level? I mean, I see a lot of things online on social media that are happening here in the United States that look awful to me. Are our hearts hardened to the point where we can't even recognize when evil is happening in front of our face? They actively participated in the Tower Project enthusiastically, sparing no pains, driven by the shared defiance of Nimrod's vision of security, vengeance against another flood. Do you know that was one of the reasons that Nimrod, not only was he literally making war against heaven and God himself by building a tower that he perceived was going to go into heaven to literally take over. Okay? Not only was he doing that, but he was also, and think about how this, in 2 generations, Ham brought forth Cush. Cush brought forth Nimrod. In 2 generations, from Noah to Ham to Cush and then to Nimrod, in that amount of time, they lost the whole principle that they had a promise. Practically every time it rains, that promise shows up. He's never going to flood the earth again. So why was Nimrod concerned about another flood? Maybe because he was an obvious purveyor of evil. Maybe because, he didn't actually believe God. He didn't trust God. They had already lost it in 2 generations. Talking about evil. Okay, that's evil. So here's a guy who's building a tower not just to make war against heaven, but he's building a tower to make sure that the water can never make it that high. He can live at the top of the tower. And even if God chose to flood the earth again and break a promise, okay, that it would never reach him. Do we do those kind of things in the United States? Do we? Boy, if I had some time to think of an example, I bet you I could think of some. So this whole thing portrays the initial consent of willing acquiescence. Nimrod didn't seize power purely by raw force, but rallies the post-flood population through charisma, rhetoric, and appeal to human pride, autonomy. Hey, we can be God just by confidence. They buy into his leadership because it aligns with the desires for unity and fame. And what is we the people but unity? We are one people, e pluribus unum. From many we have become one. We are united. They were united to destroy God. They were united to make sure the flood would never affect them again. What are we united for? That we can rule the world, that we could go into every nation and we can just strip mine everything that they have. What are we united for? Is it any different than Nimrod? Really? Honestly? Let's be real. They buy into his leadership because it aligns with their desires for unity, right? And here's a word, and independence from divine limits. Oh my goodness. I think of medical technology. We can live forever. How about, you ever heard of med beds? Everybody's talking about med beds now. They're talking about, hey, we got this technology and, this frequency and these lights, they'll flash and they'll give you this. And, this frequency is going to kill this disease or kill that disease. You ever heard this madness? Okay. I'm not saying that frequencies don't have an effect on your body. That's not what I'm saying at all. But the med bed promise is no different. Okay. How about adrenaline, bleep, you know what I mean? That stuff that it's perceived the elites do and take in order to expand their life. Adreno, beep, that stuff, right? How about that? I think of the medical world. I think of all the technology that's coming out, that claims that we can live forever. How about transhumanism? Is that, what if we can upload our brains to some place that never dies? There's movies that have come out about this. It's crazy. Independence from divine limits. Independence from divine limits. Let's see. The wages of sin are death, but maybe we don't have to suffer death and we can still sin. Ha! Wow, amazing. The things that the human mind can do and think, just crazy. Let's talk about the broader tradition, right? Jewish Madrashim and Targums. It's not biblical. We're not talking about the scriptures, but there's a lot of history here. Similar themes. Nimrod is a hunter of men. Trapping, he's a rebel leader who draws people into idolatry. Literally draws people into idolatry. Well, what do our leaders do? Do they draw you into idolatry? What are we idolizing? The American way? The white picket fence? The dream that's almost dead because gas is like $600 a gallon? I don't know. What are they drawing you into? Are they drawing you into something? We the people? Talking to you, we the people. Are they drawing you into something now and giving you hope in a dream? When really we should be placing our hope and our dreams in Jesus Christ, who's our King, like current, by the way, present King. Sure, he's on the right hand of the Father, but, he's King. Um, the Jerusalem Targum calls him powerful in hunting and in wickedness. Can we say that about some of our so-called servants or leaders, whatever they are? Urging people to follow his judgment over God's. What does God know? What do we even need him for? Do we need God? Is God even necessary anymore? We're God's. Heck, I mean, we're going to live forever. We're going to upload our brain into this consciousness database so that our children's can just push a button and talk to old great grandpa. Why not? Independence from divine limits. We don't need that stuff anymore. It's crazy. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And yet we stick to the narrative of we the people. I'm sorry, but we the people is closer to Nimrod than it is to Christ. That's what I'm trying to get across. So let's talk about it a little bit more here. Some people see Nimrod as the first king, the empire builder, introducing the concept of supreme human rule. How about democracy makers? We the people go into every country and create democracies, right? Oh, you might have a government that works for you, but he's a tyrant. We're going to take him out. We're going to put our guy in, our CIA guy. Oh, I didn't mean that. Our guy, and then we're gonna, kind of rule by proxy. But you'll be fine. We're Americans. We teach good stuff. Democracy, rule of law, stuff like that. No, our courts aren't corrupted. I mean, come on, really, seriously, be real. So, we could go on and on and on and on and on. Let's talk about the Bible, Genesis 10 and 11. It literally says Nimrod founds kingdoms, starting with Babel, which is short, by the way, for Babylon. The people collectively decide to build a tower. No explicit Nimrod compels by force alone. It doesn't say that. The unity is portrayed as a shared human initiative that God disrupts. And why does he disrupt it? Because he has to. He says, let us go down and confuse them. So then you got this table of nations, 70 nations. God comes down and says, hey, we're going to make them all not understand each other. And this tower is going to be destroyed. So let's talk about the connection to the consent of the governed. Okay, because that is a popular concept that we thrive on. We the people, we thrive on the concept of consent of the governed. We only consent, we consent only the things we choose to consent. The consent of the governed. Like we the people, Nimrod's power involves collective buy-in. The people aren't passive victims. They consent or acquiesce to his vision. I mean, think about the office of the president. If you read, there's this parchment that they wrote. It's called the Constitution. I know we don't follow it anymore, but it's one of those things that they wrote at one time. 1789, it was ratified. If you go and you read that parchment, one of the things you'll notice is that the office of the president is mighty small. He has barely anything in there. His powers are reduced to very limited powers. I think if we were to do a side-by-side picture of the powers of the president of we the people United States in 1789 and the powers of the presidents of we the people United States on this side over here in 2026, I think one's going to be far longer than the other. You're going to need far more toilet paper, way more Charmin to write it on over here in 2026 than you needed back in 1789. So, yeah, not good. So the people aren't passive victims. They consent and acquiesce to his vision, applying it through coordinated effort, amplifying it, through coordinated effort. This echoes the neutral truth about unity. A leader plus willing multitude. Here's the formula. A leader plus a willing multitude can achieve massive projects. Massive projects. Think of the things that we have done to the world. Have we done some good things? Sure. Have we done some bad things? Yeah. So, key contrast. The consent is demagogic and leads to tyranny. Not limited government. It's based on rejecting higher divine authority. But I would argue, and I'm going to argue right now with AI, I don't know what you're talking about, because the United States has gotten just as bad as Nimrod. True legitimate authority rests on consent for protecting natural rights under moral law, not for rebellion against it or creating unchecked power. Nimrod's model becomes the archetype of the tyrant who manipulates popular will. Well, here's the thing. The United States model can also be used side by side with Nimrod's, because we've done the exact same thing by popular will. You can't even make this stuff up. Here's a concise statement, okay, that was made based on my question about, but doesn't Nimrod do the same thing the United States does with the We the People stuff? Here's a short statement. In short, yes, Nimrod derives initial strength from the people's readiness to follow, persuasion plus acquiescence. But, he's going to argue with me, and then I'm going to come back again. But the tradition frames this as the gateway to oppressive centralization rather than virtuous self-rule. This distinction is central to why many interpreters contrast Babel's unity with biblically influenced ideas of ordered liberty. See, they're calling We the People United States and the original concept ordered liberty. And I would agree that much of it was purposed to be ordered liberty. However, over time, as we've cooked the frog in the pot and we've implied and redefined things and, the necessities of understanding the reality of the original, the reality of the original thought, on all of the amendments, on all of the passage of pieces of the Constitution, it's required to have a godly mind to understand it. When it's reinterpreted by an ungodly mind, a Nimrod, you might say, it becomes what it is today. And it didn't take long. It did not take long. So I ask my friend, my artificial friend, isn't that the danger of We the People, that it could quickly spiral into representative consent? Because think about what representative consent would mean. So your so-called representative never meets with you, right? Have you ever actually had a chat with your representative and told them all the things that you wish to happen? Your collective will? Have you sat down and actually talked about your collective will? Because I don't think you have. I don't think anybody has. Nobody sits down unless you got a lot of that love of money. If you've got a lot of the love of money, they'll sit they'll sit down with you and maybe even make a plan for how to get you more of what you love. But when it comes to actually righteous rule, it's never been what it's about. It's about interest. They want to expand and they want to grow their interest. And interest means what they love the most, money. So this concept of representative consent is as bad or worse than Nimrod. And here's what my artificial friend said. Yes, that's a classic and well-recognized danger. The principle of we the people, popular sovereignty, carries inherent risk of devolving into manipulated consent. Do you feel manipulated? Do you feel like maybe somewhere along the way there have been changes to the mindset, to the original intent? Do you think even from the beginning, even in the original intent, that there might have been some spiders and scorpions and snakes in there that were putting some information together in the initial stages of creating that Constitution that left just enough room open for the leaven to do its job, to leaven the whole loaf? I do. It carries an inherent risk of devolving into manipulated consent. Unaccountable representation. Oh, tell me about it. Unaccountable representation? Yeah. So what they're actually representing is a fiction that is hungry hippo for money. Okay? That is really what they're representing. And they're doing that well. Well, mostly well. That's what it's really about. So devolving into manipulated consent, unaccountable representation, majority tyranny. Funny they use the word majority, because isn't that always what it is? And it doesn't matter who controls which house or which Senate or whatever. The majority is always focused on doing more to the interest of the United States, which causes tyranny to we the people, who by acquiescence or consent of the governed have given up so much. So how about elite capture? Because my unintelligent friend here, my fake friend, it talks about carrying an inherent risk of devolving into manipulated consent, unaccountable representation, majority tyranny, or elite capture. Oh my goodness. You got one right there. Elite capture. What do they call themselves? The elites? Have they captured? They sure have. What have they captured? They've captured the entire infrastructure of the earth. Why? Because there is no countermeasure. Where are the ecclesia? They're mixed in with we the people who are acquiescing by the day. We have to have a counterweight. That counterweight has to be in reality. They have to be serving a different system. You can't have a counterweight from within the same measure, from within the same system. Because all you're doing is lending your weight to the system that you're within. So until you come out, you can't be a counterweight. You understand? It's kind of simple, but a lot of people, have they've taken these classes in economics and, gender studies, and they think they know something. So, echoing how Nimrod persuaded and then tyrannized through popular acquiescence in extra biblical traditions. So, let me go down, and here, you're going to love this. The American founders, they were aware of this risk. And they were. I'm not going to be facetious. The founders were deeply skeptical of unchecked popular will or pure democracy. Wow, today, how much is that word used? Drawing from history, like Athens, and biblical anthropological realism about human nature, sins, factions, passions over reason. James Madison in the Federal Paper number 10 explicitly warned that a pure democracy, direct rule by the people assembled, has no cure for the mischiefs of faction. A majority united by passion or interest can sacrifice the public good and minority rights. I mean, I think it's the most popular expression ever is that it's accredited to Benjamin Franklin, I guess. Two lambs and a wolf deciding what's for dinner. Then Benjamin Franklin comes back with like this really smart aleck, thing. A republic is an armed lamb, right? So, pure democracy is definitely a problem. That is the definition of tyranny. When you've compelled an entire people to, in one voice, make noise towards a particular subject, you have a democracy. Pure democracies are terrible. Democracies tend towards turbulence and contention. Yeah, they don't just tend. That's what they end up in every single time. That is the devil's playground, democracy. It's incompatible with personal security or property, and historically, it's short-lived. Yeah, there's a reason why it's short-lived, because it's literally tyranny. A pure democracy is closer to Nimrod than it is to Jesus. That's all you got to know. My fake friend here says that they chose a republic with representation precisely to filter popular passions. Problem is they didn't see the idea of the pot slowly boiling over time. Elected officials, ideally wiser, more deliberate, it's hilarious, would refine public views, while structures like separation of powers, federalism, checks and balances, and independent judiciary, which is totally corrupt now, and the Bill of Rights would prevent single faction, branch, or representation from dominating. Okay, so you created measures or weights and measures within a system that turned into Babylon. So now there's weights within that system, but there's nothing to counterweight that system, because we've spent all our time investing in that system that has become corrupt. So my friend says that we the people ordained the Constitution but day by day governance is representative, not direct plebiscites at the national level to mitigate mob rule or demagoguery. Okay, that is very high thinking. And I could see that maybe there were many of the founders who thought that they could accomplish this through that system. But like one of my good friends who's on the Council of the Holy Nation says all the time, I don't think that they closed it enough. Because really, the kind of republic that they were trying to put together was very New Testament. It was really meant for a particular kind of people. And today they would call that Christian nationalism. So I'm not going to say it because I don't want that either. because Christian nationalism leads to other kinds of problems. What we need is to be ruled by Christ. We don't need a nation bending a knee to Christian nationalism, because then we redefine Christian through national lenses. And good Lord, there are way too many denominations that would have a say and ruin it. They'd probably choose the NIV as the official study Bible. I don't know. Just saying. So, what else do I want to share here before we close down? Because I'm sure we're getting long here. My good friend here, my fake friend, said, no system is immune, as with Babel. Unity without humility or transcendent standards, justice, natural rights, rule of law, risk hubris and tyranny. Representative consent can become nominal when representatives evade accountability or manipulate opinion. And it's not even that they've evaded accountability or manipulated opinion. It's that the entire thing changed to reflect their representation being to this beast that we created. It is to expand the interest of the United States of America and not the interest of we the people, because the interest of we the people has been negotiated into nothing. It's we the people's been redefined into some kind of a patriotic myth. So it's crazy. He says, or it says, the enduring tension is real. We the people empowers collective action and legitimacy. Well, I don't know. I would debate that now, but demands eternal vigilance. Yeah, you think? And maybe we took our eyes off of that a long time ago, sat on a rock staring at the eastern sky saying, Jesus, please come. So I challenged my fake friend and I said, you state that no system is immune, but wouldn't a system derived on bond service to King Jesus avoid most of those traps? A system on the precepts of Christ's ways would be voluntary and mostly self-regulated. That's what I said. And here's how my friend came back. Yes, in Christian theology, so always want to relate it to some kind of a denominationalism psyche, instead of just looking at this purely through Christ's eyes. In Christian theology, a system rooted in voluntary bond service or joyful submission to King Jesus is often presented as an ideal antidote to the pitfalls of purely human sovereignty. You see what my fake friend did there? Purely human sovereignty. We're almost getting into a little humanism there, separating it somehow, as if we don't, every one of us humans don't have a like we're not accountable unto the Lord, because we are. Like those seen in Nimrod's persuasion to tyranny of the risk of we the people devolving into manipulated consent. So, partially agreed with me. Theological vision. This is what my fake friend said. New Testament language. Sorry about the barking. New Testament language portrays believers as bondservants of Christ, voluntarily surrendered in love and gratitude for redemption. This isn't coerced slavery, but willing allegiance to a benevolent king whose rule is characterized by, internal transformation. The Holy Spirit regenerates hearts, producing self-regulating through love, fruit of the Spirit, and conscience aligned with God's law. Voluntary community. The church is, as a kingdom of priests, operates by mutual submission, servant leadership, and persuasion rather than top-down force. Higher allegiance. Christ's kingship revitalizes all earthly powers. Human governments are provisional, but ultimately loyalty is to Jesus, whose rule is just merciful and oriented towards human flourishing under God. So, my fake friend did some evaluating there and came up with some deep theological thoughts. But here's what he did, my fake friend. Proponents argue this avoids Babel-like hubris and democratic factualism because authority flows from divine moral order, not popular will or elite persuasion. Self-regulation emerges from changed character, reducing the need for heavy external enforcement. Okay. Got a fly flying around here. And lastly, I said, but Christianity is one of the centerpieces. I got into this conversation about e pluribus unum, which means out of many one. And I said, isn't Christianity, isn't the system that Jesus, with Jesus at the center, isn't it exactly the mirror opposite of that? Isn't it out of one Christ many? Out of one many. And this is where we got into a really strange debate, my fake friend and I. And in fact, I think that's where the last little bit I was talking about came from. But here's what I came back with, and then I'll read you the final line, that I think summarizes things fairly. I said, but Christianity is one of is out of one. I don't know what I wrote there. Out of one, Jesus, we are many houses. That is the opposite of e pluribus unum. I'm debating back with AI, who wants to continue to try to advocate for the fact that it's exactly the same. It's out of many one. We are one body. But I was like, yeah, one body, many parts. Right? So we have this debate. And this is what it comes back with at the very end. This dynamic, one Lord, many servants, one vine, many branches, one temple, many stones, is why the New Testament community could be multi-ethnic and multicultural from the start. Giving Acts 2 and Galatians 3:28 as examples without erasing distinctions. Because I was debating that there was this, possibility of every ethnicity coming together under Christ, many houses that are self-governed coming together in unity under Christ to do things his way. So my AI friend here started talking about multi-ethnic and multicultural, things, and how there is an advantage to being in Christ, because no matter what culture or what ethnicity you happen to come from, there really is only one way, and it comes from the scripture. So my friend says, your point highlights the priority of Christ as the unifying piece, which is exactly what prevents the many from fracturing into chaos or coalescing into coercive uniformity. So I had a really kind of fun debate with the AI model, but at the end of the day, I've got a little bit more scripture to refer and to teach it so that it can see through the eyes of the scripture, through the eyes of Christ, and not through the eyes of the propaganda that's been fed into that system. At the end of the day, when we compare We the People to Nimrod, it's a much closer representation. It's a much closer picture or image than We the People is to Christ. So that's what I wanted to bring forward. I wanted to talk about my concerns with the idea of continuing all the time to talk about we the people, we the people, we the people. We the people need to stand up, or we the people need to this or that. We the people standing up is scary, because we the people standing up doesn't hold enough biblical discernment to be able to stand up in unity under Christ. We the people have been infiltrated and delivered to a place of understanding that's far inferior to scriptural truths. And the idea that somehow we the people can come together and formulate some process to move forward within the Babylonian system only lends more weight to that side. The only way that we can fix anything is to lend more weight to the countermeasure. And the countermeasure is to come out of Babylon as instructed by the Lord in the scripture. We are told, come out of her, my people, that you may avoid her plagues. So that's what we must do. That's the counterweight. That's the countermeasure. Any effort to continue to try to change something from the we the people position only lends more weight to that side of the scale. Hope it's easy to understand the things that I'm just talking about here. Hope you've enjoyed this conversation. We're going to have more conversations like it. We're going to have a lot more side nuanced conversations about things. And I'm enjoying bringing these privateers volleys in this style because it brings out and formulates things in a concise way. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, just let me know in the comments. Say, this was the worst thing ever. That's fine. I'd like to hear that. At the same time, smash the like button. Pass this on to somebody else. And everything we do here at Privateers Volley, everything we do, it's all about the blood. Blessings to you. Blessings to your house. Blessings to your family. And we'll see you next.
Thanks for joining our swashbuckling episode. Come back on the morrow for another load. Please leave a comment for our trouble. Thanks for joining our privateer scobble.